I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. I'm here today at the 2023 IPO Summit at the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm joined by Jim Neesen. He is managing partner at Connor Group. Jim, it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Judy, thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Well, I'm very excited to talk with you, but before we do that, quick note to our viewers, this interview is for informational purposes only. The NYSE doesn't recommend any investments or investment strategies. Right, so Jim, tell me about Connor Group and the services you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Connor Group is a world-leading accounting advisory firm. What we've really built our brand is we've worked on 240 IPOs over the past decade. We typically meet companies 2 to 3 years before a liquidity event and really help them grow and scale.
Okay, so tell me, what advice do you have for a company as they prepare for an IPO?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about preparing is sort of understanding what is your roadmap. You know, I always love to work back from a certain date. So it's when do you want to sort of be out in the markets, understand and assess where you are today, and then build out that plan. I think the biggest thing that we see with companies, I call Pareto's Law, is you can come up with 150 things to do. How do you prioritize that? The top 20% of your priorities is going to give you 80% of the impact.
Okay, so what's the biggest pitfall to avoid as a company prepares for an IPO?
You know, I think the biggest pitfall is that number one is that companies, they try to do too much, right? They don't really sort of say, here's the top 5 or 6 things I need to focus on most. I think often what happens as well is companies don't necessarily sort of put all the resources in place that are going to happen. Your team has the day job, right? They are working, 8 to 6 nonstop, and then you're adding in all this building that's required to sort of get ready for the markets. And really anticipating all that level of work, I think, is one of the biggest challenges. You've got to resource it. You're doing 18 months of work and probably 6 to 9 months of time.
Okay, so a company's public, what's next? What should they be focused on?
Well, I think for a lot of companies is, you've made a lot of sort of representations in the marketplace where you're going to grow, right? It's around revenue, it's around earnings, but also your story. I think that execution piece is really critical. How do you make sure that you're sort of successful on your growth path in a way that sort of you can manage, you can predict, and that you can really be successful with? You see in markets like now, earnings seasons is coming out, right? A lot of companies are having challenges because they couldn't predict. Make sure you understand your business and under-promise and over-deliver.
Okay, one final question.
Yes.
You are hosting the IPO Summit here at the New York Stock Exchange, hosted by Connor Group.
Yes.
How's it going?
The event has been spectacular. I think we had 500 plus companies that were part of the event, $600 billion of valuation in aggregate. They represented about 685,000 employees, 136 unicorns. But I think the thing you really feel, numbers aside, is just the energy. Is people coming in and they are excited about what's coming up in the markets. We're calling it spring. Spring is around the corner. We know the markets are going to return. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But you feel people, they're getting ready, right? The cleaning isn't coming in place right now. Let's sort of open up the house for the neighbors.
All right, well, wonderful to talk with you, Jim.
Thank you, Judy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.